Hey everybody, thanks for checking us out once again on the Fwoosh, and today we're going to be taking a look at the new Figma Avengers movie Thor figure. And I have to say right off the bat, I'm very fond of this figure. I like him way more than I thought I would. And it's always kind of strange when you're going into kind of a high ticket figure like this, thinking that you may not like him, but you buy him anyway. That's the kind of dementia I suffer from. But I have the Figma Nintendo figures, the Link and the Metroid Samus and the Kid Icarus Pit figures, and I'm very fond of those figures. They're not quite 100% human in form. They're very cartoony looking. Then I purchased the Indiana Jones figure, and for me that figure was just a disaster. I hated it top to bottom. I sold him on eBay the same day I got him. I couldn't get it out of my possession fast enough. So, I mean, I'm not a hardcore Figma collector, so I'm sure other people who are have had much better experiences with Figma than me. But as far as human figures go, I wasn't really expecting too much from Thor here. So when I got him the other day, I was very pleasantly surprised to see that I like him quite a bit, actually. And it's odd because I bought him intending him to be part of my Marvel Legends collection, but he is a little bit too small for that. He doesn't quite work in a Marvel Legends collection unless, a very small Thor is what you're looking for. I mean, Thor shouldn't be huge like the Thor Marvel Legends we've been getting, but he should be a little bit bigger than this. But the figure is so nice and it's so well put together that I think I'm just going to keep him as a standalone figure off to the side in a separate display, and I may go in for all the Figma Avengers. We'll see. But Thor here is a pretty satisfying first foray into the Figma Avengers. And I have to say that I do love the stands that the Figma figures come with. It's so easy to get them in just awesome action poses or flying poses. They're so much fun. So let's get this guy off of the stand, which comes apart in too many places, and take a look at him. Okay, there we go. So, being a longtime Marvel Legends collector, I'm pretty used to figures with a lot of articulation, but the Figma figures here are just it's another level of, sorry for the cliche, but it really is another level when it comes to articulation. There's not much that these figures can't do in terms of posability. They're a lot of fun to play around with. And there was a little bit of assembly required with Thor here. The cape, the cloth portion, was packed separately, and to get it on, you had to take this apparatus off and put it down with these, or fix it in place with these pegs that are right behind this very hard, rigid plastic silver piece, and then put the soft rubber overlay over it. It was kind of a process. I had a very difficult time doing it, so maybe that was just my experience. But I really like the end result. The way the cape just drapes there, it looks so cool with the way these folds happen. I love that. It's so well done, I think. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about a soft goods cape on my Thor, but I am on board. I like this. Now, Mjolnir here looks pretty cool too. There's a brushed metal, almost kind of weathered effect to it. Let's see if I can get a close-up on that. Yeah, that is just a handsome hammer. They really did a good job with the hammer. And to get it in Thor's hand, if you're familiar with Figma weapons, then you know what I'm going for here. You can actually separate the top piece, and that's how it fits in his hand. And then you can put it back together if you want to pretend that he just threw it at somebody, like zip. But that's how we handle the hammer. And that's a cool way to do it. So you don't have to force the peg through. Let's see if I can get it on here. Just give me 2 seconds. It actually is pretty easy. Just at this angle, it's weird. There we go. So they handled the hammer extremely well. Now let's get a close-up on his face here. It looks like Thor. He's got or it looks like Chris Hemsworth, who plays Thor, well enough. It's not an exact duplication of the actor's appearance, but it's definitely recognizable as Thor. And they attempted some weathering, I guess, on his face to add some realism to him, but he just kind of looks a little dirty and sweaty. Maybe that works. Maybe he's supposed to look dirty and sweaty, but it doesn't quite look like authentic flesh texture, which is what I'm thinking they were going for. But regardless, it still looks decent. And we'll come back to the head in a second, because the head is its own can of worms altogether. But his armor, his body, is just, it's dynamite. The metallic look of it, the paint, all of it is just, it's just gorgeous. Even like the chainmail on his arms. Everything looks super sharp. And I always liked Thor's movie design because it's definitely like an updated look for Hollywood, but they've definitely been able to maintain some Jack Kirby aesthetics in the design, and I always appreciated that. I always liked that. Now let's get down to some articulation business here. So he is fully posable, of course. Let's see. Arms are, well, they function as though they're on a ball joint, and I assume that's what it is. I can't really see what's in there very well. And then, let's see, he's got a double hinged elbow. His wrists swivel, and they can be posed in a, depending on, I mean, it's a kind of a ball joint structure in there too, but you have to get it at the right angle. And that goes for both arms. So you can get him in very like, Loki, you did it again, kind of poses. It's fun. He's got an ab crunch that has a great range of motion. I mean, you can really get him in, I mean, the way his ankles are articulated too, it's possible to get into some awesome flying poses. Like that, for example. Just looks really cool. I really dig it. And then this waist piece moves up and down a little bit. It's a soft rubber, which gives him some allowance for his legs to move. And there's a decent range of motion in there. I mean, his legs, his thighs can't get a perfect 90 degrees to his torso, but it comes awful close. I mean, it can do that. I mean, the soft rubber will allow for it, but I feel like I'm forcing it more than I'm comfortable with. And the knees have a great range of motion too. I mean, he can kick himself in the butt. What more can you ask for a Thor figure? And then the ankles are fully articulated. Ankle rocker, great range of motion, and then the toes are articulated, which is something we haven't seen in Marvel Legends for a really long time. So his articulation is just dandy. I'm very pleased with it. And he comes with a bunch of swappable hands. I'm not going to swap them all in and out. All you have to do is tug on them and presto, he's got new hands. So he's got a left fist and a right fist. So you can have him putting up his dukes with someone, maybe Loki. Then he's got two open palms for some dramatic poses. Oh no. And then he's got the two that he's holding. And it looks like, well, no, I misspoke. Here's another one. He's got a fist for his left hand and also a hammer holding hand for his left hand too. I don't know if I'm showing that very well. There we go. So those are his accessories, his swappable hands. And then his head. Let's get a close-up of his head again. His head has some unusual articulation, and I only say unusual from the perspective of a Marvel Legends collector and not a usual Figma collector. His hair is articulated, and it can be posed to give him some dramatic kind of looking up poses like this. And that's kind of neat. His head in general has a pretty good range of motion. Now these hair pieces, I feel weird saying about this, Thor's hair piece, courtesy of the Hair Club for Men, Thor's hair pieces don't like to stay on very well. Mine went flying the first time I tried to pose them, so maybe be aware of that. they may go flying on you. Now, and this is just insane to me because, again, I'm not used to this, not being a regular Figma collector. His eyeballs are articulated. Each eyeball is individually articulated, and he comes with this tool that allows you to move his eyeballs around. But you have to get the front half of his face off, which is horrifying. And then inside, you can see the pegs that control the eyes. And that's where this tool comes in. You can use this tool to change the direction of his eye. So you can give him kind of a wandering, kind of lazy eye effect, which I think is a lot of fun. Or if you're going to take it seriously, you can maybe have him looking up like he's about to take off flying, or he's looking up at the Hulk in horror or something. Now, the pain here, oh God, I'm picking up the cat here. The pain here is getting the eyes back in just a neutral position where he doesn't look insane. That's something I've noticed. Takes maybe just a little bit of finesse. And I don't have that finesse yet. Okay, that's close. That's close enough for my purposes, so maybe he looks a little insane. But yeah, articulated eyes, articulated eyeballs. That's where we're at in the action figure world, where we're demanding articulated eyeballs. But I mean, it works for some poses for him. He can look like he's looking to the side or something like that. But let's get some comparisons here between him and some other figures. So like I was saying, he's a little bit small for a Marvel Legends display, unfortunately. So here he is with the new Winter Soldier Steve Rogers figure, and they're just about the same size. Even, well, you know, that looking at this now, gosh, that almost works. Thor just looks slighter than Captain America, which doesn't really work for me and probably won't work for many people. Thor should be a little bit bigger, and they're so close to being the same size. But because they're so close, gosh darn it, I want it to work. But it's not quite there. So if Steve doesn't work, then maybe Black Widow would work a little bit better. Oh God, I've got to... she dropped her gun. She was so disarmed by handsome Thor that she dropped her gun. So, I mean, that works a little bit better. I mean, Thor's taller than she is. That almost works. Gosh, I'm looking at this, and because when I first opened them and did the comparisons, I was like, not even close. But now that I'm doing this here, I'm like, well, it's not that bad. Maybe I can wiggle Thor into my movie Avengers display. So not too bad with Black Widow. But if we put him, with Loki, I mean, I know this is the comic Loki. I don't have the movie Loki anymore, unfortunately, due to a purge. But here is the comic Loki, and Loki is towering over him. And again, Loki is way too big, just like every Thor Marvel Legends figure we have currently is way too big. So that doesn't quite work. Maybe the movie Loki would work better. And I was wondering, because of his stature and his scale, he almost seems like a 5-inch. Like he's in 5-inch scale, even though he is a perfect 6 inches from head to toe. And looking at him here with his Doctor Who figure, that works awful well. And their heads are proportionate to each other. That actually works really, really well. Way better than I ever thought it would. So there is a chance that this guy is actually in 5-inch figure scale. But that is neither here nor there, because he's not going in my Doctor Who display. He's going to be worked into Marvel somewhere, even if it's right next to my Marvel Legends display. So this is the Figma Thor figure once again. He is a little bit more pricey than the already pricey Marvel Legends figure. I got this guy from Hobbylink Japan, or was it Ami Ami? I forget. I think it was Ami Ami. And with the really fast shipping, he came to about $70 shipped. So not cheap. And, well, I guess it's just not for everybody, I guess, since Marvel Legends do seem like, in some ways, they're a better value. I mean, this guy does weigh more than the standard Marvel Legends figure, but for a lot of people, the Marvel Legends Thor will serve its purpose So I guess it's up to the individual collector. I myself, I'm very glad I took the chance and got him. I like him very much. I think he looks fantastic. And once again, I love the cape. The cape is just doing it for me. Okay. So if you want to get him, I would check out stores like AmiYami or HobbyLink Japan, see if he's still available. If not, there's always Big Bad Toy Store and possibly even Amazon. Okay, but again, this guy gets a thumbs up from me. So thanks for checking us out here on the Fwoosh, and we will see you next time.